I mean, it's you made an example. I agree, it's a good example, and it's kind of how I see it. You always, for me, you can say, how do you beat Boston on open night? Most times they say, how do they beat us? And so let's say they go small ball and roll out all the players they could, and let's say they sit in the zone. Maybe that could be an effective look. And so what do you do as it relates to who's on the floor and who's matching up? My opinion is you give our starters every chance to succeed. You keep them on the court, and you deal with that. And if as time unfolds there are some issues with that, well then you figure it out. But when it gets down to like who blinks first, it's not going to be us.
Who stood out today about practice? Was there a player that jumped out at you, or just?
I think that just the spirit of the gym stood out to me. I think everybody had some signs where you could talk about, like a big pass from Al to Joe or Joel to Al, stuff like that. You can see a two-man game with Josh, with Jay Rich and Joel in sort of that spot that I had JJ in. You can talk about Ben's leadership, just like his authoritative leadership. Tobias just going from 3 to 4 to 2 to back to 3, versatility as an example. And I just feel like there was this, and I only mentioned some of the starters, some of the younger guys and bench guys I could also speak about, but I just feel like there was just a vibe in the gym that is really exciting.
Ben said that it was the best first practice he's ever been part of. Do you agree? What makes that?
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Since I have been in Philadelphia, this was the most purposeful, the cutting to the chase, getting to the point, really sort of recognizing what we think we have to do to win on a regular basis, admitting, as the size of the team, for an example, and what does that mean? And so I think declaring kind of who we are, what we want to be, the lofty goals that we all have, today's session was excellent.
I was going to say, so is that some of that because of what's at stake here?
That's such a funny way to phrase it, at stake. The possibilities, the opportunity is more probably words I would choose. I hear you, but those aren't my words. I think that we look around the room and we feel like a lot can be done in this room. A lot of great things can be accomplished with the people in this room. You're not looking around, curious about what's this going to look like in a month or 2 months. Like you kind of feel this team is what you're going to have at the start. And from a coaching standpoint, that is just really sort of music to any coach's ears.
What do you think of Joel's hair?
This is Jamie. This is where I'm at. I don't even notice. I tell you what I loved is I loved his physical conditioning. I loved his adamance to get to the rim. I should be scolded for not paying attention to hairstyles, but I was more impressed with just like his body and his mentality of trying to, just get deep catches. I really noticed that. I think they got to sort of draw on a line in the sand and, find separation. And usually that comes from defense and making shots. I can do the leadership thing, and that is true. I can do the push the pace thing, and that is true. But what most stands out to me is like coming in and making shots and just guarding, really having the ability to be a difference maker with not a huge sum of minutes, not a huge opportunity to play, And that's always a difficult thing, but that's kind of what stands out. I thought Trey was really good today. And I thought Raul did some good things too. You know, I think Trey's got that sort of dynamic dance with the ball, water bug, you know, type game that can keep defenses off balance. I've experienced it as the opposition coach trying to guard it. I thought he was very good today.
Brett, what do you think about the coaching challenge, the change in that?
The ability to, I mean, I've studied it a lot. We actually have a committee that was responsible for like really studying it. And I personally am willing to give it a chance. You know, how we choose to use it from a strategy standpoint, we've talked a lot about it. Stuff that I probably wouldn't share with everybody. Like I think that we've gone overboard trying to better understand it, and I'm still trying to figure out, you know, the best way we can use it. And so like I'm open-minded, and we've studied it on the G League. No other pro basketball team in the world does it. You can learn maybe a little bit from, you know, the NFL as an example. You better understand the technology that's available to you at home or on the road and the rules as it relates to that. But I'm open-minded to it.
Is it one of those things where you would see it play out a couple times, maybe with other teams, and then kind of say, okay, we're going to do this with it, see how it happens a couple times?
I think the thing that I'm most curious about is the equality of, you know, wireless services to get that, like, as best you can real time and look at, oh, you know, look at this, you should challenge this on the road. You know, is it equal resources that you have both at home and on the road? That's where my head is at. And I think that if we all come out of it saying, yes, it is, then I think it's a really interesting rule to explore. And I give Mr. Silva, Commissioner Silva, credit for, you know, using the G League as kind of it should be used. You know, whether it's this or one free throw, you know, the 14-second reset after offensive rebounds. So I'm anxious to sort of see it, and we have strategized. This is a what question? How long is a piece of string? How long is that?
Varies.
And it is. It's what a question. I know I can answer it quickly. It's trying to, you know, make sure that you have a conditioning base that equals the success that we want at the start of the season. It's going overboard with situations on things that win and lose games when there's 10 seconds on the clock. It's remembering painfully where you ended, you should start. What's most on your mind, and then that can put you in a frenzy of like different things. But those would be the high-level things. You get into, you know, just clear communication with my players on roles. This is what I expect. This is the competition that you are in. Here's the tournament. Here's the lay of the land. You know, you'll tell me more than I'm going to, you know, tell you in some ways. And so that's training camp. This is my 20th one of doing these. And I love it. And I see the world every year a little bit differently. And I see it very clearly this year.
Do you expect to keep your starters together maybe a little more in training camp and preseason because you have two new guys and Tobias at a different position, Brett, to kind of help get them acclimated?
Our practices mirror our rotation scheme. And just with that admission, you know, you get to achieve a little bit what you just said. But I'm mindful as we sub this practice out, and we've spent a lot of time crafting this, that our practices reflect our rotations. And when it tilts out to what you just said, which it will, it's more for that reason than, you know, an adamance of me force feeding it.
What's the first step in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. From there, where does it go? How do you start?
I mean, really, it just talks with the admission like this is who we are. We aspire to be the best defensive team in the NBA. And the pieces of what that means. To get into just philosophical stuff of, where it all starts, and that is transition defense, which is very influenced by how many offensive rebounders you send. And so let's pretend like that's the start of our Krebs cycle, if you will, and it is. And then, like, what are you doing in half court? What are the basic rules? Then you get into all stuff, I'd say, of the godfather of them all, the middle pick and roll. And, pick and roll in general, and this and that. Like, you just go right to what matters most. And talk about it, and just talk about, like, how we're going to guard it. And lately I dive in quick nowadays of what I see is most important. And we periodize, like, what do I want to get done by the time we all go to Camden, to Delaware and play our game. Like, we have a pretty clear understanding of, yep, did it, and we'll do it. We're going to go to Delaware ticking boxes, and then we'll have another phase of the preseason prior to opening on October the 23rd against the Celtics.
Defensively, what did you see Zaire in the piece?
Those kids, I tell you what, there's a bounce, there's an energy. They know what I know. I can't play everybody. And, they both are coming out to put their hand up and said, look at me. And they did today. And that is for sure the quickest way where you're going to get my attention is just sitting down and defending. And they really can do that. And they got such a bounce that's amplified because of their athleticism. And they care. They really know what I just said to you. Like, it's not like you had to pound it down their throat. I thought those two defensively were pretty special today.
Right, was there something, I don't know if special is the right word, but different about seeing Al, like, in the team colors in here? Was that different?
Just incredible. For me, it was incredible, and I almost didn't want to talk about it too much. But if you put me in a room and, we're going sort of one-on-one behind closed doors, I'm blown away that he's here. I'm just so excited to have him. And, none of us can underestimate the relationship that Elton Brand, had as a teammate with Al Horford. And so there needs to be a little bit, I think a lot of credit extended to Elton. And to just have somebody like Al all by himself with his resume and so on come into our program, and then you double down that we were able to take, get him, and the Celtics didn't, win-win. And I love seeing him in this gym. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Am I in or am I out?